All right.
Hi, welcome back to Human Frequency. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Philip.
And we are here doing another episode of our podcast where we talk about life and all things life, really. Just like the frequency that we're on, which is, growth in our life as people, as investors, as all of these different things. And so today we're coming back to you with a little bit of a different type of episode today. But before we get into our episode, we like to talk about what we've been up to.
I really haven't, as always, I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me say this, but I am a pilot and my plane has been in maintenance since May 5th. Hopefully it's going to come out by the end of September. I've been home, editing videos, hanging out at the shop, taking my sisters to her appointment, but I really haven't been doing anything significant, at least not that I think is significant. I'm tired of editing the book, so I've taken a break from doing that. But I'm not really doing much. I'm just chilling.
Well, so when he says hanging out at the shop, he brought the drone to the shop and did some really cool drone footage. So maybe he can pop a little bit of that in here, just to show you guys what he was up to. Using a drone is, you'd think like, a pilot can just easily use a drone, but it's a learning curve. There's a learning curve there. And so he's just been playing around with that and kind of figuring that out, which is helpful for me too, because he does, video of our shop and I get to benefit from that too. And I get to see him when he comes over there and hangs out with us. So, and he also does, things for our family too, takes people to appointments and things like that. So don't let him get you wrong. He is busier than he gives himself credit for. He's not just sitting around all day long. And as far as my week, we had a lot of really good customer orders come in this week for, wholesale and white label customers and stuff. So just been busy doing that. We're launching a couple of new sets for the holiday season, which is going to be cool. And just tying up some of my loose ends there and figuring out what everything looks like so we can launch that. We went to Philip organized a party for our family yesterday, like an end of summer party. So that was really fun. We went up to my mom's house.
Had some really good food.
Yeah, we had some really good food and just hung out by the pool and, just relaxed. It was a perfect day outside, perfect weather, perfect company. And so that was kind of what we've been up to.
It was cool. Yeah, it was.
So today I'm going to let you kind of, lead the way on how we're going to start this episode, because it was your idea. Many of the episodes are actually Philip's idea. He really thinks a lot about like what we're going to talk about. And this one has been a topic that he's been mentioning for a couple weeks now. And so, it can be a little touchy, but I think it'll be fun to get into it. So
it is going to be touchy, but a necessary topic. I decided we should do a report card on Donald Trump's presidency. It's month 9. And I figure he has been in office for 9 months, almost a year. This is an appropriate time to discuss how he is doing as the leader of one of the biggest, not the biggest, but the best country on the planet. And we will divide this into a few categories with subcategories to come with it. It's the way he's doing on the economy and the way he is doing socially. And of course, there are many issues that fall below all of those things as subsections. What do you think?
I think it sounds great.
Okay.
It's the first time I'm hearing about some of this stuff, but
Rebecca said that it's my idea. We talk about this stuff not a lot, but quite often. And Rebecca has some really strong views on certain issues. And I hope Rebecca wouldn't be too hesitant to freely speak your mind.
Okay.
As to what is it you think about all this stuff.
Well, I haven't heard any really of I know some of the stuff that you're thinking, but this subcategory thing is new for me. So like I said, I'm just going to let you roll with it.
All right. Let's start with the economy and how his policies are impacting the US economy. This is September. So the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, month over month came out a few days ago, and it says that the price for goods and services increased by 0.4%, which is 0.1% greater than the expected, which was
0.3.
0.3.
Mm-hmm.
To wealthy people, that's not a lot. To us poor folks, that is a lot of money, because it's 0.4% on top of the already 4.3%. And a few months ago, I speculated that by the end of the year, inflation year over year will get to about 5% to 5.5%. And it looks like we are on track to accomplishing that. The question is, why are we in an inflationary environment? Is it natural? Is it because of Trump's policies, or is it because of greed? It is all of those things, but mostly because of Trump's policies, especially his tariff policies. It is a documented fact that when you charge people to bring things into your country, the consumer eventually bear the burden of that cost. And Rebecca, as a business owner, can most certainly relate to my next point. Thus far, businesses have been willing to accept some of the additional costs of the tariff, which is a tax levied on us. But I don't think businesses such as Rebecca's, especially small businesses, and even the big businesses, things like Walmart, will continue to indefinitely cover these additional costs of his tariffs. So eventually, those companies will pass through all those additional costs to us. And what's cool about having Rebecca here is someone who can testify to how tariffs have impacted a small business since they've been implemented, especially those coming from China and Canada. How has the tariffs forced you to change the way you do business, especially how you source your raw materials and interact with your customers?
Well, it's definitely affected us. I mean, we see the final costs of things. When it comes to sourcing raw materials, it has been the biggest thing, because that's kind of the bottom of that funnel the top of that funnel we're talking about, raw materials coming into the country for manufacturers, small manufacturers, to be able to make goods, to be able to then sell. And so that amount of, first of all, the amount of raw materials coming into the country there's not a lot of variety there right now. And with the amount of things that we do have available to us, prices have increased significantly. And we're not just talking like we see it as a tariff on our end, because we're buying these products wholesale from US suppliers, right? So like when somebody sends something in, a US supplier, let's say my packaging company or a raw material company that sells coconut oil, for instance, they will import those goods from whatever their sources are that they've found over the years. And then as US manufacturers, we try to buy US goods, right? From US companies, which is what most people say, buy US, Yeah, great, buy US. But there's a cost to that. And so when we're trying to buy these goods, and we're seeing prices increase, then as manufacturers or makers, we don't have a choice. It's like we can only absorb so much, like you said. We can only take so much. And I can give a very clear example of this. Okay. So when I went to my longtime supplier, right in Lincoln, right not far from where we are, of raw materials, they have my coconut oil there. And I love buying their coconut oil. It's organic, it's virgin, it smells amazing. I buy it in I think it's 5 to 6 gallon buckets, right? And it's great. And I've loved it for years. And February 9th of this year, So just as Trump was coming in, right? No real major things had happened yet.
Right.
That coconut oil cost me $99 for the whole 5-gallon. My mom picks it up for me, so I don't have to pay any shipping, which is great. It's right here. So when I reached out to them last week to get coconut oil again, I wanted to get 2. I'm like, $200, no big deal, right? And my supplier writes me back and says, okay, this has actually gone up since you last purchased it. Okay, like what are we talking here? So now for a 5-gallon bucket, it's $247 for one. And so I have been sourcing raw materials for so many years that, I'm not going to just roll over and pay that. I won't do it. And so I didn't. So I went out searching, and, a lot of times now, surprisingly, you can find goods, raw materials in bulk quantities from reputable suppliers, cheaper on Amazon than you can through the suppliers that are here in America, which is wild to me. That tells me Amazon has some really good, connections, obviously.
Amazon has the advantage of economy of scale.
Exactly.
And brand recognition.
Right.
Thus, retailers from outside of the country are more willing to eat some of the costs.
Right.
Just to stay on Amazon and be a competitive pricer.
Yeah.
I believe that's where you benefited from.
Well, where I benefited from this time was actually from a similar company, brand recognized, also economy of scale, which is Costco. And so what happened there was those 5-gallon buckets that were going to cost me $247, that equated to 35 cents per ounce.
Wow.
Okay, 35 cents per ounce. Now, my Amazon suppliers I could get for as low as about 28 cents per ounce. So not great, still less, right? Well, then I decided I was going to go to Costco because I'm like, you know what? I know that their big Kirkland brand coconut oils are likely white labeled by Nutiva, which is a trusted brand to me. I know it's good product. I've been using Kirkland brand coconut oil since I was a very small maker. And so I went there to go buy that coconut oil, and it turned out that the per ounce price of that coconut oil was 19 cents. So 35 cents to 19 cents.
Right.
Come on, per ounce we're talking about. So I'm buying like 800 ounces in, just 9 of those containers. And we ended up buying, 3 cases?
We ended up buying 3 cases. Each cases had 4 of them.
And then the next day we went back.
The price
dropped by $1. Dropped by only 50 cents, 50%. but still, that's my oh man, that would have saved me another penny per ounce, you know? So yeah, it's affected us. Those are big deals.
Some people who say the way small businesses can deal with the tariff is by buying American-made goods. How true is that statement?
Well, there's not a lot of stuff made in America. Yeah. Right. And a prime example of this is packaging, paper goods, any kind of, this is a perfect example. This box right here. So this is one of our bath bombs. This vial right here. These things aren't, this jar, these aren't made in America. They're sourced by American companies, right? Who then charge you an upcharge to sell it to you in America, which is fine. We buy American, right? We want to support American companies. We do. But when I go to buy a box like this in America and it's costing me $1 a box because it's printed. Okay. It's got printing on it. It's all nice and fancy. Here it's $1 a box, but then I can go to my Chinese supplier who I've worked with for many, many years. And these boxes will cost me maybe 12 cents, 15 cents at the most. While I will still pay a tariff now, they are building that into pricing from those countries, and their price still beats an American-made, American-created product by anywhere from 50 to 200%. So it's like, buying American is great, but we don't really make a lot of stuff here. If you're buying boxes from an American company, they're already just having them printed
in China and shipping them here.
and then reboxing them into their own packaging. Great business model, by the way.
Drop shipping.
Drop shipping, repackage in their own packaging and ship out to their custom clients. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but that's how they get people to buy American. You know? And
the reason why we no longer manufacture small things in the U.S. has to do in part to the environmental regulations and the labor regulations.
Yeah.
Those two require companies to put aside a great deal of money to cover the requirements to build a plant, to build out a logistics supply chain, to make a single product. And when this whole globalization thing started under Bill Clinton, companies look at that and say, well, first they started to go to Mexico. I can go to Mexico, make something cheaper, and then send it back to the US and still make
more
a
money.
really good profit. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out for the workers.
Right.
And this is where Trump gets his power from. Because the ordinary person on the street has suffered because of globalization. And they have said to themselves, and correctly so, that it hasn't worked for them. They have lost their manufacturing jobs. They have lost jobs that multiple generations has been involved in. And they're like, this isn't working. This globalization thing isn't working. But it's not government's fault that it's not working. Government couldn't anticipate that Wall Street greed was going to push them to favor making greater profit than securing the American worker.
Yeah.
And that's what Wall Street did. And over the many years, 20, 30 years, it has built up a great resentment and anger within the country among the working class and the working poor. And here comes Trump down his golden elevator in 2015, saying, I can fix it, which he hasn't fixed it.
Well, even on the campaign trail, he was saying, what did we see this morning where he was saying, like, within the first 4 weeks of being in office, I'm going to bring prices down. We're going to make America affordable again.
Yeah.
And they're going, oh, all of his supporters are going, great. This is what we want. We need it to be affordable again. And we're 9 months in and everything has skyrocketed.
Yes, we're 9 months in and everything is at least 3% more expensive than when he came into office.
That's conservative. Like coffee right now, coffee in the store, in just your typical bean coffee has gone up like massive amounts in, in areas that it has to be really imported to, even further than California, like I'm sure if you go to the Midwest, you go to some of these places in the middle of the country, their coffee prices have probably gone up. And that also, leads to like how many of those states are supporters of his. And many of them are now crying out for, help and empathy. And it's like, that's the whole F around and find out kind of thing that's going on right now.
A good example of people who voted for Trump without realizing fully what he was talking about are farmers. In particularly those in Arkansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. They are discovering that China, who would normally buy soybeans from the US, has decided to not order soybeans from the US because of the trade war Trump started with them. They instead decide to go to Brazil, which is the second largest producer of soybeans, and get it from there.
which I think was like a 60% reduction
Yes.
in the amount of those farmers' orders or
Yes.
something, was it?
Yes, and this isn't the first time Trump did this. In 2016, he started the trade war with China, and China reacted the same way. And Trump turned around and gave the farmers a whole lot of taxpayers' money. This time, I don't think it would be that easy for him to do that. In addition, he turned around and placed a 50% tariff on Brazil. And that's why coffee is so expensive. But the reason why he did this is so ludicrous. He did this in an effort to tell a sovereign country, Brazil, how they should prosecute the ex-president who tried to commit a coup to overthrow the current administration. He told them, if you put this Belisarius guy on trial, who is a Trump-like type guy, he's going to put 50% tariff on them. Brazil naturally gave him the bird, proceeded with the trial, found him guilty, and it looks like they will sentence him to 29 years in prison. Good for Brazil for not giving in to a bully.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, Brazil will export its coffee to other countries, and the United States will stop paying those increased coffee prices.
Which we are,
Yes.
It didn't take long for the tariffs to take an effect on the consumer's pocket, and it's really affecting people.
It really is affecting people. The other thing that's affecting prices is immigration. And a lot of folks, for some reason, don't see the relationship between immigration and increased prices, which is weird.
It is weird. It's kind of, it's like a direct connection. It's like, how can you not see the connection here?
We live in California, and
where all of your vegetables come from, and fruit
all of
and
your
nuts
vegetables, your fruits, your nuts, your grain, it comes from California. Even some of your dairy and your meat come from California.
Eggs, all
and
that.
Those farms are, in some cases, run by immigrants. And those immigrants are here doing the work that, let's face it, people in America don't want to do. We went to a U-Pick farm a few weeks ago where you can pick your own vegetables in the field.
Was so cool.
It was really cool. But I'm not doing that 7 days a week.
Oh my gosh.
9 hours a day.
Back-breaking
work.
We got 60 pounds.
Yes.
Back-breaking. And we were there for maybe an hour to 2 hours, maybe in total, but picking stuff for probably an hour.
Yeah. I'm not doing that.
Back-breaking. Nope.
The most difficult one was picking the green beans.
Yes. You have to get under the plant
because they're
the beans. And man, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
They need to be paid more.
Yeah.
And they need to be valued by people, because thank you for your farming.
And for the meat producing states, it's the immigrants who work in those slaughterhouses.
Yep.
And in construction, we live in our neighborhood here. They've been trying to build these houses now for about a year and a half to 2 years.
At least, yeah. No, probably about a year to year and a half.
Normally, it takes them 6 months to complete a subdivision. They have 1,000 people working there. They're throwing up one and a half house per a week.
Yeah.
It's been almost a year and the thing isn't even finished yet.
No.
You know why? Because all the workers, or most of the workers, were immigrants.
Yeah.
And they were willing to do the dirty work.
Yeah.
Now they are running scared. They are not coming. Even in our neighborhood too, every Thursday, the guys would come and cut the lawn for the HOA.
Yeah.
But they haven't been coming. Again,
really?
They are immigrants.
Wow.
And they're not coming to do these work. And since that is the case, you have to find local people who were born here who want to do it, and no one really want to, forcing you to pay premium wages. And even with that, people are not coming out to do the labor intensive, back breaking, 100-degree temperature work. And because of this, it has caused the prices of houses to go up. It has caused the prices for food and vegetables to go up because there is no one there to pick them. It's just rotting in the fields.
Those people must feel so betrayed. Like, to me, this all sounds like a bad relationship with a narcissist. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, really? It's like they're like, we need you, we need you, we need you. And then we don't need you anymore. And then it's back to eventually everybody, even many people on the conservative side now are like, oh, we didn't realize, especially farmers, we didn't realize we need these people. We need these people. We voted for somebody who's now trying to get rid of them. It's like this back and forth. And I mean, I think that's why I have strong views about it, is because, and you do too, like, because we value people.
Yeah.
It's not about where you're from or what your language is or this or that. And we do have views about being in America or being in an individual country. Like, if we go to a country that doesn't speak English, we would never expect those people to only speak English to us. We will use Google Translate. It is our job to figure out what you're saying, right? But here it's a little different. You know, America's kind of that melting pot. So I understand that some people are kind of like, well, when you come into America, you should be able to speak English, right? So
And
I get that.
I will admit, I get that, and I agree with that.
Exactly. But at the same time, we're talking about people, human beings who do that backbreaking work that might only speak broken English, but that doesn't take away from their value and what they do for our country.
It doesn't take away from their humanity.
Yeah. I mean, some of the videos you see of these people just being ripped away from their families out of the blue, like, you know, out there looking for work, and they're just taken to the ground, even US citizens.
Yep.
It's sickening.
A good example of that is what happened at the Hyundai plant in Georgia. And this is where the right hand isn't talking to the left hand.
Right.
And the foot is trying to just decapitate the arm head. Where the whole idea behind tariff was he wanted to raise money. He wanted to encourage manufacturing back to the US, and he wanted to use it as a tool to punish people. And he wanted to use it as a tool to force people to do what he wants. Bullying. Well,
Narcissist,
yes. Tariffs can't do more than one thing at once.
right?
And that's why he's having so much unsuccess with it. In the Hyundai plant case, you want them to make the cars and the batteries here. They go, okay, fine. We'll build a $9 billion factory.
Right.
But because the American education system is so backward, we don't have the technical skill necessary to build and run a plant like that.
Right.
But the Koreans do. And the Koreans says, we're going to send 375 people there to show you guys how to install the equipment, and we're going to show you guys how to run it.
Train everybody.
Yep. And then we're just going to leave.
Yep.
But then one overzealous young woman called ICE, and this is all over social media. I'm not saying anything that's new or secret. And next thing you know, 375 Koreans are in chains. And if you know anything about Korean culture, they value people. They don't like when their families are embarrassed or when their family do something that embarrasses the rest of the family. So seeing their family members in chains pissed off the entire country.
Right.
And realizing that they made a mistake, Trump invited them to stay. They go, hell no. Give him the bird. The South Korean government sent a plane, picked them up,
their own
took them back home,
Yep.
and closed down the plant.
Yep.
That plant was supposed to create, I think, about 8,000 jobs or 9,000 jobs.
Oh, I thought it was like 12. Wow. Okay. Either way,
it's probably 8,000 direct jobs and about 2,000 indirect jobs. Like someone is going to pop up a food stand outside of the
Oh yeah, sure.
plant.
Mhm.
Someone who working at the plant, they may go and buy a brand new suit, or they may go and get their shoe fixed,
Sure,
or
sure.
they may be able to buy a brand new car, or may be able to buy food.
Yeah.
So it's you are right. It's about 8,000 direct jobs and another $3,000 or $4,000 indirect jobs that they cost the state of Georgia, and that's because the immigration policy is not well thought out to the point where he is actually undoing what he's trying to
Right.
do. This morning, I was trying to think of a way to describe Trump's policies. And I don't know if this is going to make sense. Trump needs to dig two holes. He has already dug the first one,
Okay.
and he's digging the second one, but he's refilling the first hole with the dirt he's taking out of the second one. And then he's like, well, why isn't this working? Well, that's because you guys aren't talking to each other. And I saw that this week, where there was a news conference between the EPA secretary and the secretary of agriculture. The EPA was saying that we need to monitor and examine all the chemicals that comes into the US, and then decides if we should let it in. Right next to him is the Secretary of Agriculture, and she says, we need all these chemicals because the farmers need it to spray their crops. The farmers need it for pesticides. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, didn't you guys discuss this before you come on national television? Because clearly there's a division here.
Well, and if you go back the last 9 months and look at the different press conferences between agencies and stuff like that, there's so much contradiction. It's like you can't even keep track of it anymore. They constantly contradicting each other. Nobody's talking to each other.
No.
And the main problem is because they don't know what their leader is going to do.
Yeah.
So they're all just kind of on this wobbly ground trying to, it's like a constant earthquake, they're just trying to just stay as steady as possible.
Yeah.
But then that's leading them to do things that are, it's so all over the place.
It's all over the place. It's Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is going to say something, and then immediately, almost 5 minutes after he said it on national TV, Trump is going to put something on Truth Social or on X and totally contradict what his Secretary of State just said. And it's this lack of a coordinated messaging that, to me, is an indication of the chaotic nature of his government, or what it must be like working in that environment. Even there was a cabinet meeting a few weeks ago, and they spent 3 hours praising him. Every cabinet member were talking how great he is. He knows everything.
Well, they're all making money off of this market. They're all the people, most of the people, let's say most, definitely not his kind of Gen Z or male demographic, like, the whole, like the Charlie Kirk demographic, right? Like not millennial Gen Z kind of demographic, but majority of the supporters that are in his are in his demographic. So baby boomers and above, right? And they're all financially benefiting from this because they all have a ton of money in the stock market, right? So even though there's this volatility in the market, here and there throughout the last 9 months, they're all seeing gains. And so they're all kind of going like, yeah, he's great, right? But their constituents are saying differently. Their constituents are going like, what? Like, you're not even like doing anything for us, which is why it's so important to get out and vote for your local representatives.
Right.
Because they are supposed to be going to bat for you. And if your current representatives aren't going to bat for you, then it's time to choose, which is why we're also seeing a lot of younger people starting to run for office, because some of these millennials and Gen Zers even are going like, and Gen Xers are like, we're not going to do this anymore. Like, no way, this is too much. And because they're also seeing their kids struggle.
Which is weird that the voters will go to the town hall and yell at their representative.
Yeah.
But if you ask them immediately as they walk out of the town hall what they think of President Trump and the type of job he is doing, 90% of Republicans and MAGA says he's doing an awesome job. And you're puzzled because you just watch them yell at their representative or their senator for doing everything that Trump wanted and how what he is doing is hurting them. But then you ask them what they think about him, and they go, "Oh, he's doing a great job."
Well, that's what gives this cult vibes, right? It kind of gives it cult leader vibes. Yeah. Like he is trying to be that, what is it called?
That cult leader?
No, when they are like in charge of a country. Oh my God, my brain is
dictator.
Dictator. Geez, Lewis, trying to be that dictator, and his many of his supporters see that and they're fine with it. Like it doesn't matter to them, which is also very strange because his supporters wanted him to protect the Constitution,
and he's just obliterating it with the help of the Supreme Court.
It's wild. This whole thing is like a bad wild ride, and I don't ride rides, so I'm like, get me off.
I'm surprised that the Supreme Court hasn't done more to keep him in check,
right?
Even though 6 of the 9 justices are conservative. In the past, even the conservative justices voted in a manner consistent with upholding the Constitution. The 6 justices seem to not care about the Constitution at all.
They're also gaming.
Yes, and they're also just doing whatever he wants. Like, they literally just said it is okay to racially profile people.
Right.
I mean,
we got past that.
The 4th Amendment and the 14th Amendment prohibit this from happening.
Unbelievable.
But they're like, yeah, we don't care about that. We're just going to throw it out. And same thing happened with universal injunctions. Trump challenged it, and now if a court in the Southern District of California rules something, that's only confined to Southern California.
To that district.
Yeah, to that
district. Which is super small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it used to be when a federal judge ruled something, it goes throughout the entire country.
Or you can at least use the case in your case, right? Like you can use that win as, this is, they won already,
Right. So let's
now, time to move on. I win too, because we already battled this case, right?
The downside of that on the legal system is more cases and more people needed to fight the same fight. It places an undue burden on an already overflowing system.
100%.
And I'm surprised that the Supreme Court was aware of this because one of them did ask about it. One of the conservative judges did ask about it and did express some concern about it, but they end up ruling to get rid of universal injunctions anyway, which works for Trump because if California says, hey, you can't just deploy the National Guard. Okay, if a federal judge stops him there, it only stops him in Southern California.
Right.
It does nothing for Northern California. It does nothing for Central California. It does nothing for New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Alabama. It does nothing for those states. And that means every federal district in those states can't do anything until someone file a case for that. And if they rule that Trump did it wrong, it's only legal in that one federal district. It's a lot of wasted time.
It is.
So
but that's the whole idea,
and the waste of resources.
I mean, that's the whole idea is put, more pressure on certain areas and less pressure on certain areas, because those are the things that are going to help us. Like that's what helps them
Yes.
in the long run. So
Yeah.
anyway, so can we move on to like, the next category, or is this?
The next one is, how has Trump impact the country socially?
Which is related to all of the things we just said, pretty much.
Socially, Anthony Scalise, many years ago, was shot in D.C. while playing a baseball game, and he is a Republican. But I mention this because he was shot because at the time he was talking really hateful stuff. He was talking about anti-gay, anti-women, anti-black, anti-human rights, some really hateful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie Kirk, unfortunately, was assassinated this week.
Yeah.
And he was doing the exact same thing. My point is, Charlie Kirk isn't the first one to do it, nor is he the first one. Well, he is the first one to have died while doing it, but he isn't the first one to be almost assassinated for doing it, because Trump was also apparently almost assassinated also. Once again, he is speaking all these hateful and racist rhetoric. But prior to Trump joining politics in 2016, the United States, you would have to go back about 50 to 60 years to find a time when we were this divisive, when there was this much violence in politics. And we have to stop and call out Republicans as the cause of this violence. When Trump says things like the radical left, when he calls politicians names, what he is doing, he is dehumanizing them in the eyes of his supporters, as if they are less of a human and they are not worthy of existence. And you can see this in the data. January 6th, Republican. The Democratic lawmaker that got killed in Minneapolis.
Yeah, a few months ago.
She was killed by, her and her husband were killed by a Republican supporter. Charlie Kirk, that was assassinated a few days ago, he was killed by a Republican. And throughout it, and
but each time it's blamed on.
And that's what I'm saying. We have to stop saying, "Oh, let's all get together and try to get along and get violence out of politics." We have to say, "Hey, this violence is because of the rhetoric your dear leader Donald Trump 100%, is spreading."
Yeah.
Instead of trying to be, let's work together and let's figure it out. Let's call them out for what they're doing. It is their fault.
Well, and I guess the thing that bothers me about it is I want to hear from Republicans. Like, I'm interested in hearing people's position. I don't want to just say what you have to say doesn't matter because you're wrong. If you support that, I want to hear what you have to say, because I need to know, like, where are Republicans seeing any lawmaker or liberal leaning people saying, yes, thank God they killed Charlie Kirk. I hated that guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, people are not celebrating it, right?
No.
You don't have to agree with somebody. Like, we all know that it was awful what happened to him.
Yes.
It's awful what happened to his kids, his wife, all of his family, anyone who loved him. It's horrible. And nobody is saying any differently. But they seem to think that people are celebrating his death. And I have not seen that, and I've looked for it. Where are liberals celebrating the death of somebody? They don't. What they say is, like, we don't agree with everything, and we don't agree with everything he was saying, number one. And number two, because we don't agree with it, it's like, okay, he actually got what he got because of his own doing.
Yes.
And you even were upset the other night thinking about his kids and thinking about, like, many of these right-leaning people will call him like, oh, he was a good Christian man. That's like all I'm seeing on my timeline right now is like, he was a good Christian man and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what is Christianity now? Like maybe that should be our next episode, because what is Christianity? When I was a kid, this is not what Christianity was. Christianity wasn't talking down about people. Christianity was love of all people. And it's changed. And now you said something the other day. There's two things that you've said that have really stood out to me. And I hope that you'll be able to reiterate it in some form or fashion. But the first one was that you were upset that he had said all of these things without thinking how his mouth and the things he was saying to all these people would affect his children. Because he put himself out there as a target.
Yes.
Quite literally. Okay, that's the first thing. So you can address that if you want in a second. The second thing is that you said something like, what happens on the right side is that they, and I'm paraphrasing, so hopefully you'll correct me. What happens on the right side is that they have all these things that they're, their policies that they are, very stringent about, and like, their rights that they are very like, stringent about. But all of this is wrapped in like Christianity. And so can you kind of tell me like what you were saying again? Because I thought it was really good, really good.
This is about white men being fearful of losing their power. For the past 300 years, if you go on a college campus, there was a fraternity, and most of the fraternities supported white men.
Right.
In an effort to be fair and inclusive, most universities says, you know what? We need to have a fraternity for gay rights. We need to have a fraternity for Black people. We need to have a fraternity for Jewish people. We need to have a fraternity for all the people who have been left out in the rain for the past 300 years.
Right, more inclusive.
Right. Well, white men look at this and say, whoa, our power is being challenged. We are losing our power. We need to do something to get it back. Well,
not all white men. Let's say that.
Yes, that's
not
right.
All white
that's
men.
right.
Let's make sure
not
we say
all
that.
white men.
There are many. But there's a certain group of white men that is very like dedicated to preserving whiteness, white nationalist, preserve whiteness in this country. Right. Okay.
And what the universities were doing is they were looking for inclusiveness. They were looking for truth. They were looking to create a safe space for people to make choices. And you can't fight against those holistic morals just by saying they are wrong. You have to find a way to sell it to the public. And the way MAGA and some Republicans have chosen to sell their hate, you can't say that I hate that. Because that's just unusual.
Right.
They wrap it in Christianity. They say, because I am Christian, I'm allowed to speak evil on all these issues without directly mentioning the fairness and the inclusive nature of these topics. What I will do, I will make them sound evil. I will get people angry about it, and then say, I am a Christian, I'm Christianity, so this is why I am doing this. That's what Charlie Kirk did. He took his hate for Black people, for same-sex marriage, for women, and he wrapped it in the cloak of Christianity. And a certain segment of white men love that.
And white women. There's also
white women,
many female white supporters.
And they followed him. But unfortunately for Charlie Kirk, there is something called the boomerang effect. If you plant rotten seed, you're going to grow rotten plants. If you plant good seed, you're going to grow good plant. If you go out in the world and say evil, hateful things, those things are going to come back and hit you in the face. And this is what has happened to Charlie Kirk, and we cannot ignore it by being too empathetic about his assassination or his murder.
Well,
We still have to acknowledge the great hurt
Yes.
he has caused.
Right.
As for his kids, the reason I got pissed about it is because as a pilot, my job is extremely dangerous. And every time I step out of this house, until I get back into this house, I am concerned about the 4 women in my life. And what do I need to do to make sure I get back home? I am aware that I cannot go out there and give in to every impulse that's out there. I can't do what I want to do. I can't say what I want to say because my actions have a direct impact on those who trust me, on those who rely on me, on those who believe in me. And I got pissed at Charlie Kirk because he didn't think about that. He didn't think, yes, I may have these extreme views, but how are these views endangering me and my family? He didn't think of his family. And I am mad at him for that.
I don't know that most people, most supporters of his and lovers of his would agree with you because they don't see that he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
They see him as a good Christian man and he didn't do anything risky at all.
They will say, well, he's a good example for his kids.
Yeah.
He was standing up for his beliefs.
He was out there teaching the world, teaching the kids at the colleges, all these great things. And
you're going, well, when you have a family, you have to put them first.
Well, and let's be real. One of his main statements was the one that came back to bite him was
on gun violence.
Yeah, talking about how there has to be a cost, and then it's like he's the cost,
Right.
So it is a little ironic that happened and surprising to me, with regard to divisiveness that Republicans just grasped on to Trump saying that it was some radical left person that did this when in fact it wasn't. And then when it wasn't, there's crickets. Nobody's saying anything.
Exactly.
Instead of saying like, oh my gosh, we went the wrong way. We were wrong. We blamed it on someone else. Now they're still saying, oh, well, now liberals aren't being empathetic enough. And it's like, come on, like empathetic enough? Like we're empathetic towards his daughters, his wife. It should never happen to anybody. That should never happen to anybody, period. But that's different. The empathy is much different than agreeing with this happening. Those are two different things. We don't have to feel empathy.
You're absolutely right. What people are saying, let's acknowledge the horrific nature of his passing.
Yes.
But let us not deny that he was an awful person.
Right.
And for some reason, MAGA and Republicans see this as something terrible.
I mean, they've started to compare him to this whole situation to MLK. Like, come on. The two had completely different
one was
platforms.
Peaceful, one was hateful.
Exactly. And I don't know. Anyway, so I guess that's socially back to that because we're going to have to wrap it up soon. But socially, that's how, it has really affected, his term has really affected how people see each other. They don't listen to each other. There's a lot of keyboard warriors out there. There's a lot of people committing suicide because there's bullying going on and like just so much. There's so much hate. There's so much hate,
so much
and fear,
and
sadness, and I mean, it's like this is the world you guys want to live in.
Yeah,
like this is the world they want to live in.
Yeah, this is the world where we drop the flag at half-staff for the assassination of a
activist, maybe
of a hateful, spiteful, vengeful, racist person.
Right.
When right across the border in Colorado, there was a school shooting.
Right.
Where people
and they
got
didn't say
injured,
anything.
And it's nowhere on the news. Before that, there was a school shooting at a Catholic church where a 10-year-old child died.
Yeah.
No flag at the half-staff.
No.
but we
because
put the
gun
flag,
rights.
right? But we put the flag at a half staff for
Unbelievable.
someone who spills hatred messages.
Please make it make sense. If you're watching this and you've stuck around this long, like make it make sense.
Yeah.
Because I've been racking my brain trying to make sense of it. You know,
Yeah.
are guns really that important? Like when we went to Scotland, I was talking to the guy on the train, and he's like, "We don't have guns here." And that was during Trump's first term.
First term, yeah.
And the guy was like, "We hate Trump here in Scotland," which they've recently proven is the truth because his reception in Scotland was not very nice.
Good, yeah.
But he was like, "We don't have guns here. We have not. People use knives to hurt each other sometimes." He's like, "But we don't really have a lot of, we don't really have a lot of crime like that, like person on person crime. We don't have school shootings. Like we don't even know what that is, But here we do. And our kids are scared to go to school now. I'm seeing parents who are saying like, my kid doesn't want to, like the whole, they have to do the drills.
Like back in the war, back in the 1940s, the drop on.
Well, we had to do a fire drill.
And all that stuff.
They have to do a lockdown drill.
Wow.
And it's like, it's scary for them, to have to do this stuff. And it's like, our kids can't even just go and enjoy school anymore. That's a social issue. Kids can't even just be kids anymore. They have to be worried about somebody coming in and shooting them. That's horrible. And if you think that having an automatic weapon like that is okay and that our kids should feel fear, like it's weird to me that they defend that when their kids are also in that school.
Right. Makes no sense, right?
No, it really doesn't. So please make it make sense. If you want to, in the comments, please educate me on what your views are, because I have been having such a hard time making sense of their views. I don't get it.
I've concluded that socially and economically, the country is upside down.
It is,
and it's upside down because of the chaotic nature of Donald Trump and the way he does things. And I don't know if this is ever going to happen, but I'm pretty sure some liberals and people who believe in fairness and inclusivity are waiting for the MAGA and the Republican to apologize to them for saying that they were the one responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I suspect I would walk on water before something like that ever happened.
Accountability isn't necessarily their first.
No, that is
their first value, So
well, I think this is the end of our conversation.
Oh, yeah?
Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
As always, it was good. It was interesting.
Much different episode than I'm used to. So that was fun. Thank you.
That was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
And so next time, who knows what we'll talk about, but we would love it if you are interested in subscribing and liking our video and even reposting or, commenting. Tell us any topics you want to talk about. We just talk about life and, all that good stuff, all the things that go along with life. And yeah, I guess until next time.
Yeah, and in case it's not obvious yet, his report card is an F.
Oh.
Awful.
In our book, definitely not good.
All right, we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody wants to say hi to you too, Leela Jane.